Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Tuesday. You know what time it is. You know what it's all about. That's right. Personnel Decisions Tuesday. How did the front office do in the most recent offseason? How are the players we kept doing? How are the players we let go doing? How are the players we obtained doing? You know the drill by now. Let's go ahead and jump right in, starting with the free agent re signings of last offseason. And it's starting to get a little ugly in this category, but there is one big positive that I'm going to note before we get out of here. But before we get there, first we have Chris Carson. Yeah, he didn't play again. Don't know when we're going to get him back. Pete didn't sound very optimistic. I got to be perfectly honest. Pete didn't sound terribly optimistic about Carson getting back anytime soon. So we'll see. Alex Collins did play. I don't think he's 100%, like I've said, which is why he's not getting the ball a lot. But he's continuing to play fairly effectively. Not bad, not amazing or anything, but he is justifying his contract many times over. I wish he was 100% healthy. I wish he was able to actually go out there and grind on teams, but I value what he's done for this team, especially given his meager paycheck. So he added like 50 yards, and his PFF grade fell a little bit, but he's still playing good football, especially given expectations for him coming into the season. Now, here's a bit of a surprise. Here's a bit of a happy surprise. And I put the word happy in with a caveat because I don't want this to lead to the wrong decision being made this offseason. But Ethan Pocic played basically every snap against the Packers, and his PFF grade went through the roof. It's up to about 70. Before this game, it was around 50. So PFF thought he played a great game against Green Bay, for whatever that's worth. I think that if you average it out, they gave him close to a 90 for that Packers game. So it wasn't a good game by the offensive line, but Pocic got a lot of praise from PFF. Good for him. I hope it doesn't result in us giving him a contract extension this offseason, unless, of course, he plays really well the whole rest of the season, I guess. But hey, in a video like this, in a season like this, you got to search for the positives. I'm going to take Ethan Pocic getting graded really well in a game in Green Bay as a positive. All right, now we move over to the defensive re-signings. Poona Ford played pretty well. He had a few tackles. Still not really doing any of the three-tech stuff that we were promised this season, but he's still playing effectively down in the trenches. He's still doing his job in terms of stopping the run and being a space eater. So his PFF grade fell a little bit, but he's still playing well, 72.1. Carlos Dunlap didn't really do much of anything in that game. He had a couple tackles, he threw a shoe, and then he got the heck out of there. His PFF grade fell a couple points as well. It's down to 70.4. Still respectable, but I've said it before, I'll say it again. Dunlap is not here for efficiency. He's here to produce, and he's simply not really producing right now. Benson Mayowa getting a reduced role now, which is something that I welcome. He picked up 2 tackles, and that's about it. I can't say... I feel nothing for Benson Mayowa in this game. I can't say if he played well or if he played bad. He was just present, physically present. His PFF grade fell to 61, which is still reasonable for a player of his paycheck and caliber, but nothing that I'm going to miss if this is the last season of Benson Mayowa in Seattle. I'll tell you that much. Ooh, boy. Okay, now we move over to our free agent signings and trade acquisitions. Got some interesting stuff to go over here, starting with Gerald Everett's best game of the season. He had 8 catches, so he's up close to about 200 yards for the season. Finally had a monster game. Finally actually made some positive contributions to the offense on a consistent basis. He was probably our best player on offense. His catch rate is up to 88%, which is great, but it also indicates we should probably throw him the ball a little bit more. So, got to do something about that. PFF grade is up a little bit to 61.3, which is okay, not great. I feel like that we need to utilize this Gerald Everett thing just a little bit more. I know it's kind of weird to say that in a game where you're playing against the Packers with no Jair Alexander, but apparently attacking the corners was a bad idea in that game because we couldn't get nothing going over there. Gabe Jackson played every snap. His PFF grade is still pretty good, 63.6. Not stellar. He's not having his best season, but he is having a pretty effective season. He's been durable. He hasn't allowed a sack all season long, which on this offensive line is a hell of an accomplishment. His fellow offensive line veteran acquired via trade in Dwayne Brown has given up like 7 or 8 or something. So, yeah, Gabe Jackson's playing good. Al Woods, he gave you a lot of snaps like I detailed in yesterday's video, and he actually had a pretty good game statistically. He picked up like 5 or 6 tackles. I think he knocked down a pass as well, so Al Woods did good. His PFF grade is still up at 75, so Al Woods continues a shockingly good season. Did not see it coming when we gave him that deal, but hey, gotta find the silver linings here, right? Carrie Hyder, as I detailed yesterday, getting a reduced role. He had a couple tackles. He had a QB hit. He had a tackle for loss. So I think Carrie Hyder did pretty good in his limited work. One of our better defensive linemen. Don't know why he's not playing very much. PFF grade is up a tiny bit to 65.7, so he's having a decent year. Again, just trying to find the guys who are actually putting in the work, and Carrie Hyder seems to me like he's playing fairly effectively. Bless you, Juan Austin did not play. Sidney Jones did not play. So that wraps up your free agent signings and trade acquisitions. Mixed bag here. There's some good stuff, some less good stuff. But on the whole, we're not doing too bad in this category, I guess. But unfortunately, it doesn't make up for what we're starting to lose up here and especially down here. So going down to the draft picks and UDFAs, Dwayne Eskridge played 5 snaps, touched the ball 1 time, and lost 4 yards. We're not going to talk about that. Yeah, we're just not going to talk about it because you guys know. I don't need to say it. You guys know. Okay, no, we're going to say one thing about it. Why activate him? Why even activate him if you're not going to play him? I don't get it. Now, I do have one bit of effusive praise here. That is for Tre Brown, who played every snap on defense. Did not record any tackles. And some people are going to look at that and go, well, what was he doing out there? He was not getting targeted in coverage very much. That's what happened out there, I think. I think that he played a really effective game. He had his first ever pass deflection. PFF gave him a really nice grade for that game. I think it was up around the 70s, maybe even close to 80. They really liked what Tre Brown did against the Packers. I liked what he did against the Packers. I think he played a good game. And if he can build on that, then we may have ourselves a bona fide long-term starter at the cornerback position. So I messed with Tre Brown after that game. People are going to wonder why he didn't record any actual tackle stats, but I think that was just because he was doing a great job in coverage, not giving up completions, not getting opportunities to get tackles. So Tre Brown did good, and that's it. Stone Forsythe did not play. Cade Johnson, not active. Jake Curhan did not play. So it's continues to be a really dry draft pick in UDFA club, but at least we've got one seeming stud out of this class. Not enough. I go back to what I say before the draft. We needed 2. We needed 2 at least. But at least we got 1, I guess. Okay, so we're close to the end now. We're going to move on to our departures. Keep in mind that some of these players played 2 games. In fact, I think all of them did, except for 1, because we had our bye week. So these updated numbers account for 2 weeks worth of games for most of these players. Okay, Shaq Griffin played all the snaps for Jacksonville the last 2 games. He actually seemed to play pretty well. He had, across these last 2 games, I believe he had, let's check the edit history, 6 tackles, a pass deflection, allowed 6 receptions, and he forced a fumble. And his PFF grade's all the way up to 72.5. Let me just say, it's really good that DJ Reed and Tre Brown are playing good right now, or else I'd really have people climbing over themselves right now in my comment section to say that we should have kept Shaq Griffin. But because those guys are playing pretty well, I think that sentiment's going to be kind of muted. But Shaq Griffin seems like he's doing his job in Jacksonville, I can say that. Speaking of doing their job, Geron Reid is on the board. He finally recorded a sack against the Raiders on Sunday Night Football a couple days ago. So he picked up a couple QB hits, had a few tackles, played 65 or 66 snaps across 2 games. He still isn't really having a good season. PFF is not impressed at all. 43.2. but he's finally actually making impact plays in the backfield. Took you long enough, Geron Reid. Yeah, still not really somebody that I miss, but he finally made a sack. Good for him. KJ Wright, still playing limited snaps for the Raiders. He's up to 167 snaps on the season. Across the 2 games that he's played, he has 7 tackles, and he added a tackle for loss. So he's not having a bad season or nothing. He's just not capable of playing that much right now because of his age. 66.2 PFF grade is nice, but I have to pretty strongly disagree with the sentiment that we're missing him. He has shown that he's in a different phase of his career with his playing time so far. So, not a player that I'm really kicking myself over not retaining this offseason. Carlos Hyde's been getting some more work lately for the Jaguars. He's played, how many snaps? Let's check the edit history. He's played 66 snaps over the last 2 games for Jacksonville. Picked up a bunch of touches and some more yards. About almost 80 yards over the last 2 games. So nothing great, nothing spectacular, but he's been contributing. His PFF grade actually went through the floor down to 57.3, but he's doing backup running back stuff. Of course, when it comes to Carlos Hyde, I don't think anybody's going to miss him that much because he is, at the end of the day, a backup running back. Now, if you look at our current running back situation, maybe we miss him, but Carlos Hyde could be anybody. And finally, we wrap things up with Trey Flowers, who is basically not playing. So if you were anti-Trey Flowers before he got cut, it looks like you might have been onto something there. It looks like you might have been onto something because he's not even getting on the field for the Bengals. And the Bengals are not a bad team, but they're not a great team either. So the fact that Flowers can't even play for them, but he was getting 100% of the snaps for us, maybe that's a feather in the cap of the anti-Flowers people. So he's played 1 snap on defense over the last couple of Cincinnati games. And that's all I got. That's it for Front Office Decisions Tuesday. I'll see you guys later today. Go Hawks.